You know those times where the leader that you're working with has a big decision to make, and what's happening is that they're at a juncture. They're actually standing at a Y in the road, and neither path is desirable. In fact, both paths have big downsides. It's actually a decision that they wish they didn't have to make, but they have to make it. The first leader had a team member who was a star performer. In fact, they so stood out in their field that they create a lot of positive media for the organization. She was one of those assets that you want to make sure to keep happy so they stay as long as possible. The downside? She was a capricious manager, and her whole department was intimidated by her and demoralized. So the leader was faced with a choice: continue to benefit from his media star's external accolades while tolerating her corrosive effect on her department, or do performance management measures, including real consequences for not turning her management style around, and risk losing her to the next organization eager to snatch her up. There was no middle ground. Any conversations without the teeth of consequences, only suggesting she work on her management skills, were ignored. She knew she was an irreplaceable commodity for the organization. The second example was a newly promoted leader who needed to increase productivity in her division. She was just getting on board with her leadership team, creating an environment of trust and collaboration, and proving to them that she could manage multiple departments, some of which she had no expertise in. She consistently encouraged people to come to her for brainstorming, updates, problem solving, basically a highly open door policy. Then she discovered that two department heads were at loggerheads with each other, endangering the new plans to increase productivity. She was in constant shuttle diplomacy, going back and forth in one-to-one meetings with each, trying to resolve the issue. If she continued this route, she would be ineffective and exhausted. If she talked with the pair together and challenged them directly to resolve their issues, with their intense dislike for each other, she risked the issue blowing up in her face, with her boss needing to step in and proving that she's not ready to lead a division. Sometimes it's hard to witness a leader at this juncture. I mean, it can have a chilling effect even on us. What can we offer a leader who is standing at that kind of Y in the road with impossibly hard choices to make? The hidden beauty of being a coach in these situations is that it is not our decision to make. We are not at the Y in the road. The leader is. We have the luxury of being able to step outside the emotional turmoil and the interactional force field of their dilemma. And there's also a hidden gem available for leaders when they face the decision they need to make at the Y in the road. And that gem is what I want to talk to you about today. So here are two leaders at the Y in the road, where if they tolerate what is happening now, there is a bad consequence. And if they choose the other option, there can be a big negative consequence as well. One leader's choice is have a demoralized department or lose a media darling. The other leader's choice is exhausting diplomacy or a blow-up conflict that could rage out of control. When leaders get to what they perceive as impossibly hard choices, I know that they are on the verge of a major growth spurt in their leadership, if they truly face the real challenge ahead of them. I actually love working with clients when they get to this juncture in the road, because in our conversations, as they're looking through all the tough options, they start to realize that neither road, because often people will make a choice or try to make a choice based on avoiding pain and painful consequences, but they begin to see that there is no pain-free path. So what's great about that is they have to make a choice not based on pain avoidance. The choice has to be made based on something else. In fact, even standing at the crux in the Y in the road is painful. They are driving themselves crazy with worry and anxiety over the choice itself, and the situation is worsening as they wonder what choice to make. So standing at the Y in the road and not choosing one of the paths is a choice in itself. Pain to the left, pain in the crux of the Y, pain to the right. One of the first things I do is help them experience the pain they are already experiencing by being at the Y in the road, that failing to make the choice is already a choice and already painful. They now consciously know they are going to have to absorb some pain any way they go. So what pain are they going to choose? Because pain is going to be there no matter what. It's a beautiful thing, really, because now they can make a choice based on other criteria, beyond pain avoidance. What do they actually want to do? Since they are going to have to endure some pain no matter what are some parameters that they can identify that would help them make it clearer what they are deciding for versus what they are trying to avoid deciding? There are all kinds of ways that we can be in a conversation with leaders about these parameters. For example, what are their quality standards that they want to enforce by their choice? Standards for the outcomes their organization is responsible for, relational expectations leaders have of their teams, and standards they have for themselves as a leader. Another area of inquiry is mitigation strategies for the likely negative consequences of the various paths they might take. There is also the context surrounding the situation. What is possible now? Is the door closing on that possibility? Is there a deadline? What and how many other situations have to be closely managed now on top of this one? Where does it fit in the priorities for the organization? What consequences happen further downstream if this is not addressed? And now we come to one of the most important choices that a leader has to make when they're approaching making a choice in the why in that road. What kind of leader do they want to be as they make that choice and walk down that road? Here's a fact about human behavior that we often forget. As natural as it is to avoid pain whenever possible, humans are capable of making choices that are worth it to us, even though they can at times be unpleasant and contain risks. For example, training for a marathon, giving birth, hiking the Appalachian Trail, moving to another city. So knowing now that the leader is choosing an uncomfortable path no matter which one they choose, who do they want to be as they move forward with this choice? What is worth developing in themselves so that they can do what's needed down the path they choose? Is this the time they grow a spine? Do they need to learn how to express compassion in order to be successful on this road? Are they going to have to be able to hold their own in a conflict, remain calm and interested in people who are agitated and upset at them? When they lean toward one path because it best fulfills the parameters they set for making their decision and they will express a part of themselves they want to develop, there is one last question. If they go in this direction and it all goes south, are they willing to endure the worst consequences of their decision? If they aren't willing, then they haven't truly chosen that option. They are hoping for the best and then walk down that road whistling past the scary ghosts in the forest. But if the answer is yes, and they are willing to live through those consequences, then the leader has prepared themselves to walk down that path, being better prepared, more integrated, and frankly, more proud of themselves and the courage they mustered to make it than they were when they stood indecisive at that why in the road. So what happened to those two leaders I mentioned earlier who faced their own why in the road? The first leader chose to keep the media darling and allow her department to remain demoralized. He made a calculated decision that it was worth keeping the star because of all the other benefits she brought to the organization. And he also did not delve any further into his own leadership development, what it would take from him to manage the media darling differently. The other leader decided to address the two managers' embroiled conflict head-on with them together directly. And she delved further into her leadership development and realized that she wasn't going to be able to lead anything as complex as this division she was just given, unless she learned how to address conflicts directly. That meant using more backbone in her insistence on collaborative behaviors among her team members and getting out of the exhausting shuttle diplomacy game. Her decision to develop the dormant side of her backbone and heart balance was really a critical moment in her leadership development. In fact, she went on to become wildly successful in that division, and then she kept being promoted higher and higher in the organization and is now considered one of the top leaders of that company. What a difference a truly conscious choice at the why in the road can make.